me a moment for it to load.
Then let's bring in Mary Talbot. Reb, you want to first?
Okay, we are streaming. Okay.
All right, Mary, you have been brought into our meeting. You are currently muted. You can unmute yourself by clicking that little microphone icon in your lower left-hand corner. And then if you would like to be seen, you can click on the video camera icon that's right next to that.
Okay,
Yeah, there you are.
thanks for the directions.
You're welcome. So you have thrown your hat in the ring to be reappointed to the Conservation Commission. Thank you for your service up to this point, and we'll go about the same process basically as the last time. What have you learned? What have you gained from serving on the commission, and what do you see as sort of the future of the Conservation Commission and its work?
Well, I've kind of learned the functionings of the town administrative offices, the zoning board and the planning board, and the interaction of the town planners and the town managers, as well as the public works department, and the general things that come across the board regarding development and building construction. And the direction I think it's going is it's probably getting a little less out of zoning because there's not that much development that's going on. So I'm not sure that the direction that we're taking, but I know that the direction is turning a little bit.
Questions for Mary from other council members?
Mary, this is Brian. What did you mean by the directions turning a little bit, in a good way or in a bad way?
I don't think it's in a bad way. I think that we're getting more direction from the Jay Parker than we got previously from the previous planner who handled the Conservation Commission. So he's kind of keeping us more on point. We tended to drift a little more to things that were not really within our purview, and we're kind of being directed in a more pointed view toward what we should be considering.
All right. Thank you for the clarity.
You're welcome.
Other questions for Mary? All right. Well, seeing none, I want to again thank you for the time you've put in to serving on the commission. We have another interviewee, somebody you serve with already. So we will take both these applications very seriously, and we'll let you know shortly.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Good night. And if we could now bring in Lorraine Joubert. And Lorraine, you have now been brought into the meeting. You may have just watched previously as Mary got interviewed. So you can unmute yourself. There you go. And also, there you go.
All right, great. Thank you.
Nice to see you again, Lorraine.
Nice to see you.
So, these are pretty simple affairs. I guess the first basic question is, how has your experience been so far on the Conservation Commission? What would you like to see happen going forward?
My experience has been good. I think that we have an opportunity to make a difference, particularly in the 504 applications where a septic system is located closer to a wetland than allowed. I see our contribution as being able to shape the proposal, the development proposal a little bit to minimize impact. We never quite know what happens when it gets to the zoning board. It's not really easy for the town to keep track of that and report back. Or it would be a burden, I think, for the staff to report back. So we never know what the zoning board ultimately decides, but I have the feeling that in many cases they are, I know that in many cases they are taking our recommendations to heart. I don't know what happens when it gets to the zoning board. But as Mary said, we're veering away from many of those applications because there just isn't that much development anymore. And as we've had better guidance from the town planner to guide us in a way that helps make supportable decisions rather than other recommendations that are not integrally related to the 504 ordinance. So I see challenges for the future as stormwater management. You know, the town of South Kingstown has done a huge amount to reduce nutrient loading from septic systems since the early 2000s. South Kingstown was a leader in developing a wastewater management program. It's fallen by the wayside at the town level, but the state has stood up and, you know, has regulations that were not there a long time ago to have advanced treatment systems. The new challenge is managing stormwater runoff, which is the cause of impairment of many of our waters in town. And that is not only the great BMPs that can be installed, like the ones that DOT recently put on the Kingstown Road up towards Route 1. Those are all good examples, but low impact development is required for stormwater management, and that needs to be addressed in the design of a project. So that's where I see the challenges for the Conservation Commission and the town. The other concern that I have is there's a lot of emphasis on affordable housing, and I'm all in favor of that. But there are some voices that are saying affordable housing at the expense of the environment to build in previously protected areas. And I think that's very dangerous. We need to protect the environmental resources we have, our forests, and maintain open space. So I'm all in favor of compact development where the existing allowed density is concentrated in a smaller footprint, but not actually increasing the density, particularly in areas outlying the urban centers. That's probably more than what you wanted to hear.
Good. So are there questions for Lorraine?
I have no questions, but thank you for your service, Lorraine.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
All right. It looks like your one very informative answer there was enough for us. Thank you again for all your service up to this point. We will be letting you know soon.
Thank you, and good luck to those of you. Thank you for your service, and good luck to those of you that are continuing to serve.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right. And I think those were our only two interviews tonight, correct?
That's correct.
Let's take a walk through the agenda, Rob.
So it's a heavy agenda, but I don't think it's going to be too bad because most of what you're seeing in terms of the weight of the document is really the long list of licensees for the liquor licenses.
About 6A, do we know if that applicant is going to make it this evening?
Simply Ty.
We
Yeah.
actually were able to reach a woman at the restaurant late this afternoon and did tell her that someone needed to be here to represent them this evening. So fingers crossed that someone actually does show up.
All right, very good, thank you.
And there will be representation here for the indoor gun range public hearing as well.
The big heavy part is the public hearings around the liquor licenses. I don't know if anyone has any questions about any of those, but you happen to entertain questions about anybody who's on that list? All right. On communications, there's nothing super heavy tonight. We've got a Veterans Day invitation that the council received, a couple of resignations from the Historic District Commission. We've got Small Business Day, well, actually jumping all the way to new business, a Small Business Saturday resolution. Re-upping a contract with the Umpires Association. And extending our emergency declaration. The other item on the new business is a resolution ratifying and approving the acceptance of the Take It Outside or Take It Outdoors grant amounts that we've received from the state of Rhode Island. We've received a $50,000 grant and a $25,000 grant. Actually, both of those agreements have already been executed because we're trying to move quickly, and even trying to move quickly has not been easy, but we're looking for the council to just acknowledge that we've received those, and we will hopefully be getting all of the monies out to members of the public, to businesses in the very near future. We have made some purchases. I think we've actually spent about 20 of the first $25,000 that we've received. The state is doling this out in sort of dribs and drabs. We received a $50,000 grant in the first round. They've given us half of the first 50. Now that we've given them invoices and evidence that we've spent the first 20, I'm hoping that we're going to see the next $25,000. And that is all lined up and ready to go. As soon as that money gets out and we've got evidence that we've spent that, I'm hoping to get the last $25,000. And then the big item tonight on our agenda is a closed executive session to talk about settling a legal dispute with Roland Fiore. This is an issue that's been long-standing here in South Kingstown. Mike will walk us through that tonight during the executive session. And the other item on the agenda for the executive session is potential sale of town property in Matunic, lots known as the Mary's lots. These were the 2 parcels of land that the town acquired in order to construct the seawall along Matunic Beach Road. And that's our meeting for tonight.
Rob, this is Brian. I just have a quick question.
Sure.
On the Take It Outside grants,
Yes.
you said we spent about 20,000. What did we spend 20,000 on? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
so tents and heaters is really, those are the things that we've been buying so far. And actually the way we've been buying them is that we've had the grantees entering into agreements or going out and finding, it's been very hard to get tents and heaters. Everybody in the country is looking for them. So we've cut folks loose, and so long as we can verify that the price is reasonable, we're entering into agreements with companies, firms that the sub-grantees or sub-recipients have identified. So in the one case, I can think of a tent firm in Miami, Florida, and a heating company, a heater vendor in New York. So we're really scouring all over the place looking for these products and services. We do have other items that will be purchased with the grants. We've already given the authority for one subrecipient to build a fence, an 8-foot fence, soundproofing fence. And we've got what else? What other sort of clever things are people doing? It really is lighting, tents, heaters, and in some cases, just sort of modifications to the buildings or structures to make it possible to serve outside.
Rob, Joe Veely,
Sure.
What are we looking at for delivery times? Just noting that we're getting into the cold at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, it's not been great. Again, everybody in the country is looking for these commodities, so it's been hard for people to find the commodities, and delivery has been um, variable, highly variable, depending on who the vendor is, where it's coming from. It's been very difficult to predict how quick it would be to get things. We're hopeful that we're going to start seeing tents, and we haven't seen them yet, tents and heaters arriving this week or next week.
So just the reason I asked is my experience in this industry is that this is not the time of year that people are stocked up. They typically do their trade shows in February and then manufacture like crazy till spring.
Yeah.
So unless they have inventory left over from a soft spring, early COVID, I would assume that even placing orders today, there's going to be a challenge to it, especially with the whole country, looking to purchase. So
There's a lot of challenges around this. We're actually seeing people purchasing used tents because there's a better supply of those or a more ready supply. We're seeing folks who are struggling with the types of heaters that they can use in a tent as well. You can't stick a propane mushroom heater inside a tent. You have to actually have a heater that blows hot air into the tent.
right.
So there's been a lot of challenges around this program. And I will also share that, there's growing concern that as we get into the colder months and people bring the sides down on a tent, you've actually just created an indoor space. So you haven't achieved the objective of taking it outside. It is a challenging program. It's been difficult for us to work with everybody, trying to find all these vendors and working with the sub-recipients. It's not an easy program, but we hope that we're going to end up doing some good here. I think that, at the end of the day, anything we can do to keep people outside. The weather's been good for us the last couple of weeks. If we can, if Mother Nature cooperates and we can throw a couple of heaters out there and get people in the parking lots and on the rooftops for another 3 weeks, that's going to make a difference. I mean, COVID right now, we're seeing all over the northern here is just, it's busting out all over. Fauci was in the news today reporting that his concern is that all of these little isolated epidemics are going to start coming together, and it's very much like, was described as very much like throwing gasoline on a fire, because all of the fuel is going to sort of merge here. We need to keep people outside. We need to not have people going indoors for dining, and anything we can do is going to be better than nothing. So we're pursuing the purchases as quickly as possible. We're doing some changes in our procedures. Typically we will cut checks to vendors. We've gotten into electronic transfers of funds to vendors because we want to speed things up. So we're doing what we can, and hopefully it makes the difference. There's no guarantees here, though.
Yep. And then I have one question about the liquor license renewals, but I want to give the other councilors a chance if they want to chime in on the take it outside. So I want to ask a question about the liquor license renewals. I know historically there is a requirement that all of the holders of the licenses are in good standing. And I wonder where that requirement comes from. Is it a state requirement? Is it a town requirement? And the reason I'm asking to clarify is I imagine that some people who hold these licenses are challenged right now and may have an obligation for, say, a sales tax payment from early on at COVID that they haven't been able to satisfy. I would hate to see the compounding of holding their license, restricting any ability that they could earn more money to potentially pay that. So is the requirement a state requirement and we have no control over it, or is it something that we require?
The Division of Taxation requires that a liquor license holder obtain a certificate of good standing for renewal prior to the town releasing their license.
Okay, so it is a state requirement and we have no way to sort of bend the rules a little bit to help somebody in a tough situation. I don't have anybody in mind. I just know that this has been very challenging.
Right.
Okay, so that clarifies that. And a letter in good standing is not just for tax payments, it's for obligations to companies. And so, okay, that
No, that's just for the State Division
Oh.
of Taxation.
okay, but
Our regulations require them to be cleared with
vendor,
town tax payments,
right?
you know, upkeep with their inspections, fire code issues, that type of thing.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
But
You're
that is by
welcome.
local procedure. That's our local licensing procedures.
In
Right.
the town code, yes.
So, I mean, the reason I asked is I know, for instance, for property taxes, we sort of relaxed the rules a little bit, knowing that that people might be in a tight spot and it would help them. So I just, going forward, if we can sort of keep that mindset, I guess, for what the town can control. Just an observation. Maybe nobody needs it, but if individual companies do, we should, my opinion is we should, obviously inspections are important, but if there's a tax payment that's late, that should be taken into consideration. Just my 2 cents. Thanks.
Yeah, so the way for us to deal with that probably is if the situation arises, then we come back to the council and say, look, given that we have dealt with tax payments in a lenient way this year, given all of the difficulties and chaos that everybody's experiencing, we could do that again here and have the council, pass a special emergency order. We could do that under the emergency declaration, under an executive order. But again, the council's wanted to be more involved in those, and I think it's perfectly appropriate when it comes to liquor control in particular. But we could come back to the council and say, we've had these vendors or these licensees who come to us and are in, having some difficulty given the COVID economy, and then ask the council to consider waiving or changing the rule.
Right. And my, of course, everybody's hope is that nobody needs any special treatment. So,
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions about the agenda tonight? Or any other matters, I suppose?
Abel, it's Mike. You've done this a few times. All you really need to do is take each of the liquor classes by themselves, read the name and the address, and then stop and ask if anyone has any comments. If none, go on to the next class, and then assuming again, we're good with everything, you only need one motion at the end to approve all of public hearing item A, subject to that first paragraph.
And I will be recusing myself from the Pump House Class T license vote. So can we break that out separately?
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian can handle that one.
And while
You should do that, Abel, right at the very beginning. Announce that you will be recusing yourself from the Pump House, that it will be voted on separately. Go through and do everything. Have a vote on everything and then before we close the public hearing, Brian, you'll do the Pump House, read it out, read the address, ask if the public has any comments, and we go from there.
So since we have the time and we've got Terry here, if the council doesn't mind, I'd like to have Terry just describe the South County Umpires Association contract renewal and its relationship to the current state of and anticipated state of programs at the rec department. Terry, is that too much to put you on the spot for? I'm sorry.
Nope, nope, not at all. Good evening, everyone. There is a recommendation that you've seen in your packet for renewing the contract for South County Umpires Association. They are also contracted for our youth basketball program. They were contracted for 2 years. The recommendation is to extend them through this year, to extend that award one more season, with the intention to be able to operate some form of the recreation basketball program. As I indicated in my memo, the way we have it set up to go into this program is under phase 2 guidelines, which requires, similar to school systems, stable groups and limited spectators. It also requires the wearing of masks. That's where we are with this. This obviously, with all of our programs, is a moving target. We certainly understand that there's concern about indoor activity. But like I said, there are guidelines that the state has put out for recreation programming, and we are following that those guidelines. So that's where we are. We are going to, we would like to try to run the program. We know there's limited opportunity for activity with the youth program. I think if the interscholastic athletics trends in a different direction with in terms of winter sports like basketball and volleyball, that is a, no pun intended, game changer with us to move in that direction as well. But we'd like to try to be able to offer something to the community in a very, what we consider a safe format at this stage. So we want to be prepared to do that. And we need to have a contract with officials that would be assigned also into stable groups with the basketball program. The age ranges are kindergarten through 12th grade, I think. I think it goes up to the high school level.
And while we've got the time, I will also just mention a memo or a note that I had sent off to the council indicating that the State Board of Elections has informed us as of this afternoon that the state will not be certifying election results until November 30th, which means that the council and the school committee in place now will continue to be the official town elected bodies until after the certification on November 30th. We're anticipating that a swearing in ceremony for council and school committee members can be scheduled for the 13th. Is that right, Susan?
No, we could schedule the swearing in ceremony for Monday, December 7th.
With these.
And the following week, December 14th would be their first meeting.
Right. I did speak to Joe and Bryant earlier today, and they've graciously agreed to one more meeting, longer than they thought they'd have to, but they will suffer through it.
It's the toughest breakup I've ever had.
You guys get bonus points. All right. Well, thank you for all those updates. Looks like we have a couple minutes here till 7:30. I don't know if people want to grab a glass of water or something, but we'll be back here in 2 minutes for the start of the regular session. All slowly coming back here. All right, let's get this meeting started as soon as possible. Susan, are you there?
I am here.
All righty. Live and streaming, everything ready to go?
Yes, it is.
Good. Hello and welcome everyone to this meeting of the South Kingstown Town Council. It is Monday, November 9th. The time is 7:30. Our first order of business, as always, is the pledge to the flag. The clerk will please lead us in that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Thank you, Susan. And will the clerk please take the roll?
Council President Collins,
Here.
Council Vice President DeCruz,
Here.
Councilwoman Kelso,
Here.
Councilman McEntee,
Here.
Councilman Veely.
Here?
Thank you. All members are present.
Thank you. Item 4 brings us to the approval of minutes of previous meetings.
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve for A and B.
This is Bryant. I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Rory, a second by Bryant. Is there any discussion? Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously, and that brings us to the consent agenda.
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Deb Kelso, I'll second that.
And we have a motion from Rory, second from Deb. Any discussion on this one? Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously as well, and that brings us to item 6A, a resolution granting a victualling license to Lam Fong LLC, doing business as Simply Thai of 99 Fortin Road in Kingston. Application by Lamphone Loravangsa, member. This has been continued from the past 2 meetings. If you are here to speak on this license application, please raise your hand at this moment. You can do that if you're on your computer with the little raise hand icon, or if you're on a phone, you hit *9 to raise your hand.
Yeah, well, based off of the names that I can see in the attendees list, it doesn't look like they're here, but there is a phone number ending in 192.
Yeah, I was wondering if that might be the one.
Why don't we allow that person to talk and see if that is the woman that we spoke to this afternoon from the restaurant?
Try that. If your phone number ends in the digits 192, you have been brought into our meeting. You will need to unmute yourself in order for us to hear you. You would do that by pressing *6 on your keypad. Let's see.
Can someone on the phone be asked to unmute? I don't know if it works that way.
I just tried that. Would the caller on the telephone number ending with 192 please unmute yourself so we can speak with you?
All right. Well, is it possible, if this is, do we actually know what the other digits there are? Is it possible to text that phone number?
No,
Hmm.
no, it's masked deliberately, so I don't know who it is. I'm gonna take them out if,
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
oh, yes, we can.
Are you
Yeah,
here?
this is Attorney Mark.
What was that?
Yeah, this is Attorney Mark Fay. It wouldn't unmute when I was doing it. It just opened up for me.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So he's
Well,
not
you-
6A.
Yeah, we were not.
No, I'm not here on a liquor license.
Okay,
right. Thank you, Mark.
we're gonna put you out back into the attendees room for the moment, Mark, and we'll call you in when we get to your public hearing.
All right, thank you.
All right. No luck then on 6A again. We can,
Not seeing anyone. Sorry.
have you experienced this before, Susan? I can't remember a situation.
There are some language barriers there, but we did speak to someone at the restaurant today who understood what we were talking about, whether or not they were a responsible party to be able to get on the meeting tonight and represent the business. I'm not certain. I was not the one speaking to them. Perhaps they'll jump in.
Deb, I see your hand is raised.
Can someone just call the Simply Tie number right now, see if anyone answers? I mean, I'm willing to do it, but, I mean, the number's right there. So if somebody answers, we can say to them, go to this website and get on, because then now they're 3 meetings deep here.
Yep.
Susan, this is Mike. Is all their other paperwork in order? Do they have what they need from the Department of Health, et cetera?
I believe so.
Because just so you all know, although it's your practice, legally, you don't have to talk to them. You could actually vote on this without them present, and that would not be in any way illegal. But certainly you would want to make it contingent on compliance with all the necessary statutes and ordinances, mainly from the Department of Health. Just an option.
Thanks. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
This is Bryant. I'll make that motion.
Joe,
I'll
second.
that.
Sorry?
I think there was 2 seconds there. We have a motion from Bryant. I'll go second with Joe. Any discussion on this? I know that this is an unusual circumstance, but I do think that the language barriers are getting in the way of us being able to interview them. All right, very good. Any further discussion? Is there anyone opposed? That motion carries unanimously. And that brings us right down to item 7, public hearing. 7A is a public hearing relative to the renewal of liquor licenses for the year beginning December 1st, 2020. Said licenses are granted contingent upon the issuance of a certificate of good standing from the Rhode Island Division of Taxation, issuance of a certificate of insurance evidencing required liability coverage, compliance with all town ordinances and regulations, the payment of any municipal taxes, user fees, and lease payments in arrears to the town, and the correction of any fire code violations. Applications for licenses to sell intoxicating beverages under the provision of Title III of the General Laws of 1956, as amended, have been filed as followed. And as you can see on your agendas, there are a number of different classes, and we'll sort of take them in order. I will note here at the outset that I will be recusing myself from any consideration of the license for the Pump House Music Works under Class T theater licenses. All right, so this is a public hearing. So as in the case, we do this every year. We will talk about Class A to start with, for instance, retailers, And then if there's any comments from council members, feel free to offer opinions, but really we want to get input from citizens. So if anyone out there has anything to say on any of these particular applicants, you can raise your hand. If you're on your phone, you can hit *9, and then we'll take people in the order in which they raise their hands. All right. So Class A retailers, this is Jaber's Liquors by George Jaber of 231 Old Tower Hill Road. PBL Inc., doing business as Liberty Wine and Spirits by Joseph Baglia of 520 High Street in Peacedale. Sweeney's Package Store Inc., doing business as Sweeney's Wine and Spirits by Michael Sweeney of 408 Main Street in Wakefield. And Wakefield Liquors Inc. by Jane Costanza of 667 Kingstown Road. Are there any comments from council members? Anyone from the public? All right, very good. Class B Victualler, 629 Succotash LLC, doing business as Matunic Oyster Bar by Perry Razzo of 629 Succotash Road. Apple New England LLC, doing business as Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar by Ronald Igarashi of 15 South County Commons Way. Bobby G's Inc., doing business as Bobby G's Pub by Karen Sweet of 703 Kingstown Road, Wakefield. Bombay LLC, doing business as Bombay Flame Restaurant by Farhan Hussein of 60 Old Tower Hill Road. Cantina del Rio of South Kingstown LLC, doing business as Cantina del Rio by Ramon Michel of 515 Kingstown Road. Captain Jack's Inc., doing business as Captain Jack's Restaurant by Jack Piedmont. President, 706 Succotash Road. Chop House Inc., doing business as Chop House Grill by Russell Goyette of 191 Old Tower Hill Road. David Barnes Development Inc., doing business as The Muse Tavern by Daniel Rubino of 456 Main Street. DPTA Holdings 2 LLC, doing business as Dragon Palace of Wakefield by Peter Santilli, 733 Kingstown Road. Philippou's Twisted Pizza Wakefield LLC, doing business as Philippou's Twisted Pizza by Effie Philippou Lopez. Hanson's Pub LLC, doing business as 210 Oyster Bar and Grill by Andrew Bilodeau of 210 Salt Pond Road. Heng Di LLC, doing business as Tong Di Restaurant by Angie Lim of 50 South County Commons Way. JSR Corp., doing business as Tony's Pizza Palace by John Reeves of 1916 Kingstown Road. Kabuki Kingstown Corp., doing business as Kabuki Restaurant by Yungking Lu of 91 Old Tower Hill Road. Laurel Food and Beverage Inc., doing business as Laurel Lane Country Club by Joseph Vedetta of 309 Laurel Lane, that's Kingston. Mary Murphy's LLC by Patrick Guidera of 333 Main Street. Matunic Pizza Pie Company LLC, doing business as Matunic Pizza Pie by Kevin Finnegan, 920 Matunic Beach Road. Next Door Inc., doing business as The Pub in Matunic by Kevin Finnegan of 907A Matunic Beach Road. Oceanfront Lounge Inc., doing business as Ocean Mist by Kevin Finnegan, 895 Matunic Beach, 895A Matunic Beach Road. Old Mountain Lanes Inc., doing business as Old Mountain Lanes, 756 Kingstown Road. Phil's Kitchen Inc., doing business as Phil's Restaurant by Carl Tetzner of 323 Main Street. The Rose Hill Golf Club Inc., by James P. Manning, 220 Rose Hill Road. Surfside Thai Food LLC, doing business as Satang Restaurant by Nina Conklin, 402A Main Street. The Flats LLC by Jane LeBlanc of 501 High Street. Tory 2 Corp., doing business as Trattoria Romana South by Angel Amaya of 71 South County Commons Way. And Wakefield Tavern LLC, doing business as Tavern on Main by Christian D'Agostino 195 Main Street in Wakefield. All right, that's a lot of reading. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment on any of those applicants?
Abel, there was one person that I couldn't hear. I'm assuming it was Robert Toth for the bowling alley, I think.
Yeah, I mentioned Old Mountain Lanes Inc. doing business as Old Mountain Lanes. Yeah, Robert Toth.
Okay, thank you. You had broken up, I think.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. And that brings us to Class B Limited. And that is Byrne Enterprises, Inc., doing business as DB's Pizza by William Byrne, 546 Kingstown Road. Tilly's LLC, doing business as Tilly's Cheesesteaks by Jonathan Beres, 3711 Kingstown Road. Rachel's Cafe LLC, doing business as Rachel's Cafe by Carlos Tavera, 36 South County Commons Way. VGB LLC, doing business as Pasquale's Pizzeria Napolitana by Pasquale Iliano, 60 South County Commons Way. Anyone want to speak on those Class B Limiteds? All right, very good. And that takes us to Class B Tavern, South Kingstown Hotel Associates LLC, doing business as Holiday Inn South Kingstown by EHI Holdings Inc., by Elizabeth Procacciani, 3009 Tower Hill Road. Tavern license. Very good. Class B Hotel, South Kingstown Hotel Associates, LLC, doing business as Holiday Inn South, oh, sorry, I just read that one. No, that is right. South Kingstown by EHI SK Holdings, manager by Elizabeth Procacciani, President, 3009 Tower Hill Road, Wakefield. Soon, he wants to speak on either. Class D, Club Full Privilege. This is for the Elks Club of South Kingstown, number 1899, by John Carpinelli of 60 Belmont Avenue, Wakefield. Anybody to speak on Club Full Privilege? All right, and that brings us to Class T, Legitimate Theater. The Contemporary Theater Company by Terrence Simpson, 321 Main Street of Wakefield. And then at this point, I will mute myself and allow.
Apologize for the took me a second to unmute. Mike, did you want me to read that first full section again in regards to Class T? First paragraph? I don't know if Mike's frozen.
You don't have to, because when the
Okay, I think I understood that I don't have to. Okay, thank you. All right, so we have one additional license, Class T, Legitimate Theater, and Pump House Music Works by Daniel U. Collins, President, 1464 Kingstown Road, Wakefield, Rhode Island. Is there anyone either on the council or in the attendees list that would like to make a comment or speak up regarding the renewal of that particular license? All right, so seeing no hands raised and nobody from the council speaking up,
Brian,
yes.
can I suggest that you have the remaining 3 council members along with you vote on that one, and then we'll go back to the motion on everything else.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve Class T specifically for the pump house.
Michael, if I may, we have not closed the public hearing before they take a vote.
I'm sorry about that. Brian, why don't you close the public hearing?
All right. So do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
Deb Kelso, motion to close the public hearing.
All right.
Rory McEntee, second.
All right. So hearing a first from Deb and a second by Rory. Is there anyone opposed to closing the public hearing? Should I do an individual vote? Does it matter?
No, you can ask, is anyone opposed?
Okay. All right. Seeing no one opposed, the public hearing has been closed. Now, for Class T, specifically regarding the pump house, would anyone like to make a motion regarding that?
Rory McEntee, make a motion for the renewal of a Class T legitimate theater license for the Pump House Music Works.
Deb
And
Kelso.
Rory, as part of that motion, it would be subject to everything in paragraph 1, so that Susan gets that.
Okay, I'll add to my motion the additional language as just asserted by Mike Ursillo.
And I heard a motion by Rory, a second by Deb. Is there anyone opposed? All right. Seeing nobody opposed, that passes. Class T for pump house. All right, Abel.
Thank you, Brian. And so, yes, now do I hear a motion on the rest of 7A?
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve 7A.
This is Bryant, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Does that also need to reference all the
Yes.
friendly amendment there, Rory?
Okay, Mike, what am I adding to this one?
You're adding all the information in paragraph 1 of the public hearing.
I'll amend my original motion to add all the language in part 1 of the original public hearing here.
This is Brian, I'll second that amendment.
Okay, motion from Rory, second from Bryant. Any further discussion? Is there anyone opposed? And that motion carries unanimously. That brings us to public hearing 7B, public hearing relative to an application of renewal of an indoor shooting range license in accordance with the South Kingstown Town Code, Chapter 9, Licenses and Miscellaneous Business Regulation, Article 6, Indoor Shooting Ranges, Section 9-158, Term of License, Renewal, Transfer, application by IDDR 15 LLC, doing business as Elite Indoor Gun Range by Mark Fay, member for property located at 371 Rose Hill Road, Wakefield, Rhode Island, designated as Assessor's Plat 33, Lot 30, consisting of 121.57 acres. And Mark, welcome back into the meeting here.
Thank you.
So every year we have this public hearing relative to the indoor shooting range there. If you want to give us a quick recap of how that came to be, Mark, feel free. But otherwise, tell us how business has been going there.
Well, I'll be brief and I have Sven Soderberg here too, the club manager. So he could probably answer more specifics than I can, but the club has been doing very well. We've increased membership every year. The outdoors pretty much stayed the same in regard to the setup. Indoor, we've increased membership and usage. Obviously, with the COVID, we complied with all the COVID requirements this year in regard to the club aspect of it, the Platinum Lounge and events in there. There haven't been many or any due to the COVID. But other than that, we continue. We're able to stay open in COVID compliance, and we're moving along. Everything's going well. I know the application is complete. It's pretty much the same as it was last year, and we're just looking to continue with the working relationship with the town. So, if you have any specific questions, I'm sure Sven can answer them.
Sure. Any questions for Sven or Mark from the council? Sven, did you want to say anything? You're here.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. No, I mean, I think Mark covered it. We're trying to manage this year like many businesses, and we're thankful that we're still open right now.
All right, very good. Thanks, Sven. At this point, as it's a public hearing, I'd invite any public comments. If you are watching the meeting on your computer, you can hit the raise hand button. If you are on your phone, hit the *9 button, and I'll call on you in the order in which you raise your hand. All right, I do not see anyone rushing to speak. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
Abel Giovili, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Did Bryant second that motion?
We have a motion by Joe, a second from Bryant. Any further discussion? Is there anyone opposed? Right, that motion carries unanimously. Do I hear a motion on 8B?
This is Bryant. I'll make a motion to approve item 8B.
Giovili, second.
Motion from Bryant, second from Joe. Any discussion?
Clarification, 7B.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I had 7 on my mind, but then I heard 8. So
Thank you.
well, thank you.
All right. Appropriate motion. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? That motion carries unanimously. That brings us to item 8, communications. Communication 8D is a letter dated October 28th, 2020 from Steve Stewart of the Parade Committee Chair for inviting the town council members to attend the annual.
Excuse me, Abel.
Yeah,
You've missed 7C.
7C. Sorry.
It's a public hearing.
Yes, there it is. Public hearing relative to proposed amendments to the town code, chapter 9, licenses and miscellaneous business regulations, section 9-21, temporary expansion of licensed premises for restaurants as shown on exhibit 1. And this, Rob, do you want to tell us, this is sort of the renewal of what has been in place, but you are muted, Rob.
Sorry, you've also caught me off guard here. Yeah, this is just a continuation of the licenses that were discussed at the last town council meeting. This is the temporary outdoor service areas. As you remember from our discussion at the last meeting, the ordinance that replaced the executive order that initiated this program was set to expire 6 months after 6 months after it was enacted. It was enacted on June 8th. It expires on, therefore, on December 8th, and this simply extends that period out further. This gets us to March 31st, 2021. The idea being that we're not through COVID. People are going to need to have the flexibility to continue to serve outdoors. If the state's Take It Out outdoors program is successful, we should see people in tents for much of the winter. And even if not everyone is operating through the course of the winter, come spring, late February, March, people will want to be outdoors and serving in the spring. We anticipate that if COVID should persist through the spring, we're going to have to move that date again. But March 31st certainly seems like long enough at this point in time.
Right, very good. Do I hear any discussion on this at the council level? Very good. Well, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on item 7C? All right. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing in that case?
Deb Kelso, motion to close the public hearing.
Bryant DeCruz, second.
Motion from Deb, second from Bryant. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? Right, that motion carries unanimously. And now, do I hear a motion on 7C?
This is
Rory McInsee, I'll make a motion to approve 7C.
Bryant. I'll second that motion.
Motion from Rory, second from Bryant. Any discussion? Well, I will just wish luck to everybody who's going to be out there trying to serve folks in the cold. It's a challenging year, but you've been up to the task so far, so good luck. All right, is there anyone opposed to this motion? That motion carries unanimously. That brings us to 8D, a letter dated October 28th, 2020 from Steve Stewart, Parade Committee Chair, inviting town council members to attend the annual Veterans Day wreath laying ceremony at the Saugatucket Veterans Monument on Wednesday, November 11th at 11 a.m. This has been placed on file. Any discussion on this item? All right, well, I will look forward to being there. Hopefully I will see some of you there as well. Do I hear a motion?
Joe Veely, I'll make a motion to place agenda item 8D on file. And I'd like to publicly thank Steve Stewart for the invitation. It's unfortunate. It will be a different feel to this event this year, but I think important to attend nonetheless.
This is Deb Kelso. I'll second that.
Motion by Joe, second from Deb. Yeah, so I should just note that it is open to the public, although we are not encouraging a crowd to gather at all. If you do choose to come out to Saugatucket Park and be there with us, please just maintain social distancing and wear a mask. That brings us to 8F, an email dated October 28th, 2020 from James Garfield, tendering his resignation from the Historic District Commission. It's received, placed on file, and the town council further directs.
So this is Deb Kelso. I'll make a motion that we accept Mr. Garfield's resignation from the Historic District Commission and thank him for his very lengthy tenure on that board, many years of service.
Joe Veely, second.
By Deb, second from Joe. Any further discussion? Or anyone opposed? Very good. 8G, that motion carries unanimously. 8G is a similar message, email dated Thursday, November 5th, 2020 from Carolyn Griswold, advising that she does not wish to continue serving on the Historic District Commission when her time expires in December.
So this is Deb Kelso. I'm a little troubled by this one because there's technology problems here. She cites that she does not have a good enough computer or something to be able to participate. So I don't know, is there something we can do? Is there a loaner program? Is there something we can do to help folks that are in this similar position out? Because this is troubling to me.
So in theory, we could loan a town laptop, but service or support is going to be somewhat limited. You know, we're going to be able to perhaps go out and set her up and make sure that the computer is working. If she were to run into a problem after hours when the laptop is being used to access a meeting, we can try, but it's going to be difficult to guarantee that we're going to be able to provide the kind of support necessary to ensure that she can access any given meeting.
And why I'm also troubled by it is I'm not seeing applicants for boards and commissions because of this stumbling block as well. Not having, up-to-date technology. So I don't know, it's something I think that we need to be mindful of and maybe reach out to Carolyn Griswold and say,
why don't we
accept the resignation tonight, but if if we can help, I'd like to help. solve the issue.
do we have to accept the resignation tonight? Could we ask her to reconsider based off of some assistance from the town first, and then see what she says at that point?
Her commission doesn't, her appointment doesn't expire until December. Just for reference purposes.
So we can certainly reach out to her and see whether there's a technical solution to be had. If you know, we can find a loaner and that it's really just the laptop. My fear would be that it's a laptop plus Wi-Fi connection. You know, it may be more than simply having a laptop. But we can certainly look into it and see if there is a solution to be had.
The meetings are held on Zoom, correct? Pretty much.
They have been, yes.
The other solution might not be a laptop, but some kind of a mobile device that would allow her to have video, and be able to speak and participate.
A cell phone. Yeah, we can look into it. I will say that we've been struggling with budget. In fact, Susan is just getting her laptop so that her staff has laptops so that we can sort of get into a rotation in the clerk's office. We have had difficulty getting laptops because they're in high demand. It's also not completely irrelevant that you have to, you know, configure each and every machine once it's bought. We don't just, you know, buy them off the shelf and plug them in. We have to have them configured to work with the town network. We have to get the software for security purposes to make sure that we're not exposing the town network to a threat. There's a lot to processing a laptop. It's not just buying it and getting it.
Just another quick thought. It's possible that Ms. Griswold.
This is Mike Urso. At this point, this really is not on the agenda. So you either need to add it to the agenda to continue speaking or leave it for the next agenda.
So Joe Veely, I think I might make a motion. I will make a motion to continue this to the next agenda and allow the administration to have a conversation with Ms. Griswold.
Okay.
Deb Kelso, I'll second that.
Motion from Joe, second from Deb. Is there any further discussion? Is there anyone opposed? That motion carries unanimously. And that brings us to item 9, comments from interested citizens. And this is everyone's opportunity to speak on town matters or any matter. Just raise your hand if you're watching online. It looks like everybody is. Or if not, any comments from council members?
I have a quick comment. Just, you know, we are in the world of Zoom lately, and sometimes it's difficult for folks to access meetings, but sometimes they have the devices that would do it. They just don't know how to utilize it. So maybe we could look at some frequently asked questions or some online videos that can help people figure out how to utilize technology like Zoom, or even being able to call into a meeting. But we do have an attendee with their hand up.
Yes, I see that. All right, Ann Hazelwood. Bring her in. All right, Ann, you've been, there you go.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay. You know, we had a pretty exciting election, but we're still waiting for the final results. And I just want to say that I'm pleased to see Deb Bergner at the top of the list. The citizens of South Kingstown have validated Deb's commitment to reach out and respond to voters concerned about having a voice in town and in South Kingstown school affairs. She will bring an acute awareness of the financial and social distress caused by the pandemic on town citizens and will bravely propose and push for adaptations to the way we do things. My husband and I are part of the 30% of SK's population who are retired. We are proud of Deb's efforts, who, without party support, has the largest number of votes. And we look forward to a council led by Deb Bergner, who will bring the big picture of the interests of our population to the details of governing that make South Kingstown a great place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. All right. Any other comments from council members? I would note today that there was some good news that an effective vaccine has been found for COVID. It's good reason to celebrate, but also a reason for us to be pragmatic and cautious going forward. It will take a long time for that to become widely available to everyone. So we do need to continue to be vigilant in suppressing this virus. As we've seen locally, case numbers, hospitalizations, all those things have been on the increase. So I know people are getting tired of restrictions, but it's likely that they may get stricter before they lighten up. So, hope that we can all bear our way through these darker months and come out better on the bright side. All right, that brings us to item 10, the town manager's.
And I will make this very brief tonight. The one item that I did want to touch base on was the certification of the election results. We talked about this in the work session, but I'll share what we know at this point so that everybody knows. We did receive an email today from the Board of Elections, the State Board of Elections. They're anticipating that they will not certify election results until November 30th. We cannot certify local results until the statewide certification process has been completed. So we're anticipating that local certification will happen after the 30th of November, which means that the current council will continue through. It looks like the first opportunity to do a swearing in will be the 7th of December. So this council will sit until the 7th of December, and the first business meeting of the next council would be the 14th of December, with the school council joint first budget hearing being that same week. It compresses the beginning of the year, unfortunately, but there's really nothing we can do locally because the statewide certification will not come until November 30th. They really were dealing with a lot of unusual circumstances this year, many write-in ballots, a lot of poll numbers to deal with, machine poll numbers to deal with from the emergency voting, and a number of computer glitches around the state that did cause the Board of Elections to have some difficulties in tabulating all of the results. The results from South Kingstown should be completely tabulated, at least with regard to the provisional ballots, by tomorrow. So we should be in a pretty good place in terms of understanding the results locally. They won't be certified, however, until November 30th. We did receive an email today from a citizen, and I just want to comment on that because I don't want folks to be concerned about this issue. The comment was that this council should refrain from identifying its new president and vice president's officers until the seating of the new council members. As the council knows, that's the process. So there's nothing, there won't be any identification of council officers before the seating of the new council members. That isn't how the process works. And that's really all I've got, but I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Any questions for Rob?
Rob, you answered the one question I had about why it was taking so long, so I appreciate that.
It's just a lot of work. They really received an extraordinary number of votes, and they came in more forms than is typical. Actually, the thing that is still outstanding, which is sort of complicated, is sort of the weird cats and dogs, if you will. Some of the ballots that get put into the machine get damaged. So those defective ballots, those ballots that have been damaged, have to be rerun. They have to be re-evaluated. Those still need to be done. Where there are folks who've had an issue identified with their ballot, the signature doesn't seem to match the signature on file. those are defective or deficient ballots. That class of people has until this Friday to cure those deficiencies. There's just a lot of little nuances that this year seem to be highlighted, in part because the local races are close, and in part because there's just a lot of focus on the process.
Now, Rob, is tomorrow the last day that military ballots can be received?
Military ballots can be received up until 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Susan and I just were checking that rule this afternoon.
That's correct. And they anticipate counting and updating the website with the results from those military and overseas ballots by Thursday, since Wednesday is a holiday.
We still have provisional ballots and military.
So we're waiting for the remake ballots, the provisional ballots, the military and overseas ballots, and any deficient ballots that may be able to be corrected.
Now, Susan, you said remake. What does that mean?
The remakes are the damaged ballots that they literally have to look at and see what the voter actually voted on the ballot and remake it on a clean ballot so that it will feed into the machine.
All right. Any further questions for Rob? Very good. That brings us to item 11, appointments.
I'm sorry, Rob, I have one quick question for what's the deadline for recount? I'm only asking because we have a couple of races that are
Tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And as near as we can tell, that has not changed. It's tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and it seems to be statutorily required that that's the deadline. So it is a peculiar situation because we don't know the margins. We won't know the margins with great certainty because we won't necessarily know the military ballots, for example. But the deadline for requesting a rereading initially, a rereading of the thumb drives, and then recount is tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Two-step process. You reread the electronic data, and if that continues to show an issue or isn't consistent with the count that you've had the first time, then you can go to a recount.
And the Board of Elections has notified us that they will begin conducting recounts next week, November 16th.
And that's all done
At the Board of Elections.
Okay. With, I'm assuming overseers. I mean, it's kind of like how they're doing it throughout the country right now, like meaning.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, that brings us to item 11 on the agenda, appointments. We have a couple of folks that we interviewed tonight who have been serving on the Conservation Commission. Do I hear a motion on those applications?
Billy, I'll make a resolution to reappoint Lorraine Gilbert and Mary Talbot Rabuano to the Conservation Commission.
This is Brian. I'll second that motion.
Motion from Joe, second from Brian. Any further discussion? No. Is there anyone opposed? That motion carries unanimously. And that brings us to item 12 on the agenda, new business. 12A is a resolution adopting a proclamation promoting Small Business Saturday in South Kingstown as follows. Small Business Saturday. Whereas the Town Council of the Town of South Kingstown celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently 30.7 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all firms with paid employees in the United States and are responsible for 64.9% of net new jobs created from 2000 to 2018. And whereas small businesses employ 47.3% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, 62% of US small businesses reported that they need to see consumer spending return to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2020 in order to stay in business. 65% of US small business owners said it would be most helpful to their businesses to have their regulars return and start making purchases again. and 3/4 of US consumers are currently looking for ways to shop small and support their community. And whereas 96% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday agree that shopping at small, independently owned businesses supports their commitment to making purchases that have a positive social, economic, and environmental impact, and 97% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday agree that small businesses are essential to their community. And whereas 95% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday reported the day makes them want to shop or eat at small, independently owned businesses all year long, not just during the holiday season. And whereas South Kingstown supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods, and whereas advocacy groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday, now therefore we, the Town Council of the Town of South Kingstown, do hereby proclaim November 28th, 2020 as Small Business Saturday, and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. Do I hear a motion?
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve 12A.
Joe Veely, second.
A motion from Rory, a second from Joe. Is there any discussion? Is there anyone opposed? And that motion carries unanimously. That brings us to 12C, a resolution authorizing a one-year contract extension to South County Umpires Association of 134 Sir Michael Circle in West Kingston to provide youth recreational basketball referee services in accordance with all bidding specifications at the original bid pricing in an amount not to exceed $11,000 for FY 2020-2021, and is further described in a memo from the Leisure Services Director to the Town Manager dated November 3rd. Do I hear a motion?
Joe Veely, motion to approve agenda item 12C.
Rory McEntee, I'll second that.
Motion from Joe, a second from Rory. Is there any discussion? All right, is there anyone opposed? That motion carries unanimously. And that brings us to 12D, a resolution approving and ratifying the town manager's execution of the grant agreements with the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation to accept $75,000 in grant funding as part of the state's Take It Outside grant initiative to support local businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic, further described in a memo from the senior planner to the town manager, finance director, and planning director dated November 5th.
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve 12D.
Bryant, I'll second.
We have a motion from Rory, a second from Bryant. Any discussion? Is there anyone opposed? That motion carries unanimously. That brings us to 12E, a resolution extending the town's declaration of emergency adopted at emergency session on March 15th, 2020, and subsequently renewed on April 13th, May 11th, June 8th, July 13th, August 11th, September 14th, and October 13th, as shown on Exhibit 2 attached to the agenda.
Deb Kelso, motion to approve 12E.
This is Bryant, I'll second that motion.
A motion from Deb, a second from Bryant. Do we have discussion?
Yes, I'd like to say something. You know, in the past, we were thinking about the fact that maybe we should stop extending some of these emergency declarations for a number of reasons. But I do feel right now that even though a potential vaccine is on the horizon, I think it's going to be a pretty difficult winter. But we've also talked to the town manager to make sure that when he does take action, that we do ratify those actions at our following meeting. So I feel comfortable doing this.
Thank you, Brian. Any further discussion on 12E? Susan, will you take the roll, please?
Council President Collins,
Aye.
Council Vice President DeCruz,
Aye.
Councilwoman Kelso,
Aye.
Councilman McEntee,
Aye.
Councilman Veely.
No.
The ayes have it 4-1.
Very good.
Abel, this is Mike Ursillo. Before you get to the closed executive session, I just want to let you all know that Colleen Camp has sent each of you a link by email so that you'll be able to get there quickly. And also for all of you and the public, once executive session's finished, we will be reconvening in public session. So just to let you know the process.
Thank you, Mike. This is the first time we've gone into an executive session since COVID crisis hit. But we still do need a motion to move into closed executive session.
This is Brian, a motion to move into closed executive session pursuant to RIGL 42-46-5 to discuss matters pertaining to litigation, including Roland Fiore versus the Zoning Board of Review, CA number WC-2015-0285, and Roland Fiore versus the Town of South Kingstown, CA number WC-2015-0049, and pursuant to RIGL 42-46-5 to discuss matters related to the disposition of public held property whereon advanced public information would be determined to the interest of the public.
And Brian, I just want to add to what you said. The first executive session is pursuant to 5A2, and the second executive session is pursuant to 5A5. Thank you.
Right. You're welcome.
There's a motion. Do I hear a second?
Deb Kelso, I'll second that.
We have a motion by Bryant, second from Deb. Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries, and we'll be coming back into public session later on after our discussions. Thank you for attending to this point. We'll see you later.
Okay, that was fast for y'all.
I never left.
I'm going to change our picture and get out of closed executive then. Let's see.
Rob has his hand raised.
We'll bring him in.
That went pretty well, that whole thing. That was nice.
Looks like we're all back. Though maybe we want Mike in here too. There he is.
I'm here, so the motion would be to close the executive session, seal the minutes, and reconvene into public session.
Do I hear that motion?
Brian, I'll make that motion.
It's Deb Kelso. I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Bryant, second by Deb. Any discussion? Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously.
And the minutes will reflect that during the executive session, a motion was made and unanimously approved by the council. That's just for the minutes. Your next motion would be a motion to adjourn.
Deb Kelso, motion to adjourn.
Bryant, I'll second.
A motion from Deb, second from Bryant. Discussion on this one?
No.
Is there anyone opposed? That motion carries. It is 9:30. This meeting is over with. Thank you all for participating, and we'll do this again next time.
Be
Have a
well.
good
Good night.
Good night.